I'm Carmine Gallo with two Emmy award-winning film directors, Cristina Costantini and Darren Foster. Their new documentary is called Own the Room. It's on Disney Plus. It's in partnership with a National Geographic documentary. What an inspirational film. It follows five students who are entrepreneur students, and they have been chosen for a pitch competition, the most prestigious pitch competition in Macau, China, and it follows their journey to this world-class competition. It's very inspirational. Congratulations on really making an inspirational film about entrepreneurship. Christine, I'll start with you. Is that what you set out to do, is look for the topic of entrepreneurship, maybe through the lens of this pitch competition?
Yeah, we think that entrepreneurs are very special people. It takes a lot of bravery and independence and grit to make it as an entrepreneur. So we wanted to make a film that celebrated these kinds of people, and we learned about this competition. And the more we learned, the more excited we got, and we started meeting some of the students who are participating. And they all have such different stories. They're all overcoming great odds, and we thought this would make an amazing documentary. And my parents are entrepreneurs, and my dad's an immigrant. My grandparents are immigrant entrepreneurs. And so for me, I think there's like personal desire to kind of celebrate these kind of people, having grown up around them.
Sure. And Darren, I really enjoy Own the Room, and I hope so many people get to watch it, especially young students, whether they want to get into entrepreneurship or not, because it really is inspiring, all about these young people with great ideas that'll change the world. But as someone like myself who coaches executives on public speaking, I could see and feel the tension, especially as these pitch competitors were preparing for their presentations in hallways and in hotel rooms. Did you and Cristina feel that tension yourselves? You did a good job of capturing it in the film.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think, the students that we feature are like every entrepreneur. They face very long odds. Most businesses fail within the first 5 years. And so these students, were looking for very necessary capital to get their ideas off the ground. And so, these pitch competitions have become a way for a lot of, students and young entrepreneurs to raise money. And so the stakes are pretty high. They go in there and they know they get one shot at it. And you're right, performance, for better or worse, is a big component of this. How you present your ideas, how you communicate your ideas. I think what's interesting about GSEA, this competition that we feature in our film, is it's very much about the entrepreneur and less about the idea that the entrepreneur has, but more about the entrepreneur behind it. So the kids are encouraged to tell their stories, to tell the challenges they have faced, and how they overcame those challenges. And so, really the investment is in the individual, more so than even their company. So, for us, that's just great fodder for a documentary.
This competition is about the spirit and the heart of the entrepreneur, not just focusing on, which business is going to be the most successful the fastest, but who is the entrepreneur that is going to sit here and wow this planet in the next 5, 10, 20 years and do something pretty amazing.
Would all of our finalists from this afternoon please come up to the stage?
I think that's terrific. And as filmmakers and people who understand story arcs, that really must have resonated with you. I'm so glad that competition encouraged that, because so few people, especially those who come from adversity, Daniela from Venezuela, and we have others from Kenya and from Puerto Rico. All of the students that you followed have had to overcome extreme tragedy and adversity in their lives, and they tell those stories. And I think that when you have those stories of triumph over tragedy, those are stories that you can and should tell. So I'm glad that competition allowed that to emerge, Cristina. Well, what a great way to follow those students.
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of this is a common thread you see in a lot of entrepreneurs, that there are people who've overcome a lot, and you know, immigrants, for example, start businesses. I'm sure you're aware at higher rates than the non-immigrants, and I think it's no coincidence that you know, if you've overcome something huge in your life, if you've overcome adversity, starting a business maybe doesn't seem so scary. And so I think there are personality traits that are common amongst all of our students and all of the entrepreneurs that we profiled, and their stories are all very different, but we love all of them. It was, you know, it was really hard to choose. We only followed 5, but there were incredible, dozens and dozens of incredible students at the competition.
As a communication specialist, I'm always looking for those triggers. I'm looking at I'm trying to understand, why is someone an extraordinary speaker? And all of the entrepreneurs, obviously, maybe it's self-selecting, but by the time you get to that final round in China, they've gone through many other pitch competitions. And the 5 students you follow represent countries. Daniela represents the US. I noticed that each and every one of them, from Venezuela, from Kenya, Puerto Rico, Greece, and Nepal, all of them not only faced poverty, civil unrest, and other tragic events, they were not pitching for themselves. They were pitching for their countries, and they were pitching for people like them. I think that's something that you can't create that in terms of a message. Okay. Someone could hire me and say, help me craft this message. It's not going to sound the same as someone who is pitching for their country. That's what I think gave them this ability to inspire and to speak so eloquently. Well, what do you think, Darren? What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I do think there is, you know, that pride that you take when you're representing your country. That certainly was part of it. But I think also, you know, all the students that, you know, we featured, and a lot of the students, most of the students, I would say, in this competition, there's a real authenticity to their story and to how they feel about the products and the businesses that they're building. Most of the, you know, the stories that we feature, the students were addressing, you know, issues or problems in their own backyards, or something that was very personal to them. And so, you know, when they're up there pitching, it's not just, you know, a spiel. It's something that they feel deeply and something that they connect with personally. And I think that kind of, you know, authenticity shines through and you know, in these pitches that you see.
What happens if one of us doesn't have the capacity to hear, to relate to others? How will we communicate?
We present offering happiness. How would you feel if you're 5,000 miles away from your loved one and today is his birthday? It's our guarantee to make him happy and feel special.
Listen to my story. I am the co-founder of Synthetics, where we're making the chemical industry green, starting with nylon.
Okay, you brought up a good point. Cristina, let's pick up on that, because both you and Darren have had to pitch yourselves, I'm sure, a lot, quite a bit in Hollywood, especially. You have to pitch your ideas. I mean, that's just par for the course. And you watched a lot of these pitches. Authenticity. In order for you to convince another person in any field to buy into you and your ideas, authenticity seems like a really important quality to have and to come across.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think in the case of Daniela in particular, the fact that she tells the story, this was the first pitch competition where she told a personal story about, you know, what it meant for her to start this company, you know, being separated from her mother, who is in Venezuela. And I think part of the reason, I don't want to spoil anything, part of the reason she did so well is because she was able to, the judges were able to see that this came from a real place, and that she had these bigger reasons to do what she was doing, rather than just, you know, making money. There was a heart there to her story that I think you can't make up.
I like the way Daniela, by the way, represented the U.S. At this Macau competition. She's a chemical engineering student at NYU, co-founder of Synthetics. So she's amazing. I mean, her idea is harnessing the sun to make synthetic chemicals. but she had a really good piece of advice, I think, for everybody. After one of her pitches, the early rounds, Daniela said, nobody else in the room knows that you're nervous if you don't let them know it. Take your time, walk in there like you own it. Nobody needs to know that you're shaking inside. So it seems as though not only do these, a person who does a great pitch, they have to practice, but they also have to psychologically kind of prepare themselves. Are there any tips that you learned about pitching or public speaking that you can share with the rest of us? Because I'll bet each and every one of those students had some really good advice that we could all follow, like Daniela's.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like the advice that we get, and, we do a lot of pitching as well, is like, if you can't summarize what your idea is in one line, then, you really need to sort of practice a little bit more. And so, sort of having a clear idea of what your business is and what you want to accomplish, I think is, the best starting point. But then I also believe it is about authenticity, because like, even if you're not the slickest speaker, if you can sort of show that, you believe in this idea and that, it comes from the heart, certainly people are going to connect with that more than, the person with the silver tongue, no matter how good they are. That's what I think all these, students had going for them. And, I love that part of Daniela, because, it's obviously much easier said than done.
Sure.
To, when you go onto that stage and you're shaking in your boots, it's hard not to believe that everybody's picking up on that. But, that's why
Darren,
Daniela's a star.
You brought up a good point, a really good point. You said whether it's people like yourselves who are pitching potential documentaries or entrepreneurs pitching their ideas, you have to be able to summarize what you do in a sentence or two or in a short amount of time. Now that you say that, each and every one of the students that you followed were able to do that very, very well. And so they all had like this one sentence mission or one sentence introduction to their presentations where instantly you can get it, even though some of them have very complicated ideas. Is this a skill that can be built, Darren and Cristina? Is it a skill that you can develop over time? How's it worked for you two? Because I think it's an important skill for anyone pitching an idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having watched all of these students, the thing that I learned was that there's a lot of preparation that goes into something that looks effortless.
Tell me, what did you see? Tell us.
I mean, we were with them as they were practicing constantly, and I think, if you're able to get on stage and do your pitch and make it seem natural, a lot of that, at least in the students that we were following, had to do with their confidence that they knew what they were going to say, that it wasn't, they weren't nervous about, messing up what they had already prepared because they were so well prepared. And so I think there's a lot of work that goes into looking effortless, which I don't think is something that I had realized until seeing these kids. And I do think that, we pitch all the time. Usually we pitch kind of off the cuff, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't work. But I've since watching these kids started practicing more just by myself. And I think it does help. It helps you kind of get all of your thoughts together in a calm way, and you're better when you're in the room.
Yeah, I think it gives you confidence. I could tell when these students walked out because they were obviously nervous inside. You've got hundreds, maybe thousands of people watching, plus the panel of judges. Everything's at stake, but then they just kind of got into the flow. Because probably, like you said, because they've practiced it so often. I think that must give them confidence. One person also said, and I think this is a challenge everybody has, so I'd love to hear how you folks handle it. One of the entrepreneurs who was pitching said, I have 10 minutes to talk about 7 years of work. Okay. That's a very common problem. I hear that all the time. As directors, you know the problem too. So you've got all this material that you have to condense into 90 minutes. As presenters, a lot of folks who I've met have to take years of material or years of knowledge and condense into a 10-minute pitch. Any advice on how, easier said than done, but any advice on how you do that? Especially, I've never asked a documentary filmmaker, and I'm curious, all that material, how do you get into 90 minutes? Where do you start?
I mean, it's storytelling, right? I mean, what these guys do in their pitches and, when they go to these pitch competitions and, what we do for a living is storytelling. And it's, as old as time. And, everybody knows when a story gets boring because, everybody starts looking around and so, we go through constant, drafts of and cuts of our film and, you see what people respond to and you see what people, sort of their eyes glaze over with. And, you realize that, nobody wants to hear about, the 7 years, blow by blow of every turn and twist of your company. But, there are some, really great dramatic moments that people are going to respond to. And so it's about identifying those and crystallizing those and presenting them in a way that other people can relate to and feel the connection to. Certainly, we fail all the time. Cristina and I are often in pitch rooms together. She's seen me fall on my face many times, but you learn from those mistakes. So.
Yeah, I think the more we have to talk about our projects all the time, and the more we talk about them, I think every time you tell a person about a new project or a story, you can tell by looking at their face and their interest level what's working and what's not working. And then the next time you pitch another person or you tell them about what you're working on, you take what you've learned from the last time and you apply it. And so, I think the more we talk about projects we're making, the better we get at explaining them. And it really is just a trial and error kind of process. And I think in pitching your business, it's the same too.
Yeah. One of you said that Own the Room, the documentary you make, is a love letter to business owners. I don't know which one of you said that, but why? What a great line. A love letter to business owners.
Who was it, Darren? Was it me?
Oh, that was definitely you.
It sounds like me. Yeah.
I haven't written a love letter in a long time. I should start doing that. My wife would probably appreciate it, but.
Cristina, then that's a good question. Why is a pitch competition and a documentary about a pitch competition a love letter to business owners?
Yeah, I think we spend a lot of time talking about big brands and huge multinational corporations, but the small business is really the economic backbone of our country and our world. And I think that we don't spend enough time celebrating the grit and the hard work that it takes to be an entrepreneur. There are a lot of people out there employing people with some of the best jobs in the country who are doing something really brave just by having their own restaurant or having their own bakery, or like Alondra's parents. And so I think we wanted to take some time and celebrate the little guy.
Well, it's definitely a film for anyone who's has a dream, who's been told they couldn't make it, someone who has felt like they've been given up. But I think Daniela's mother had a great line. I'll end with this. She told Daniela, your story deserves to be heard. Your story deserves to be heard. So I think Own the Room is a terrific film for anyone who has a story to tell. So congratulations on making it. And thank you for giving me some of your time. So insightful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Carmine.
Yeah,
nice seeing you.
Nice seeing you. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that conversation about the world's most prestigious pitch competition. Subscribe to Carmine Gallo TV for new videos every week, because your ideas deserve to be heard.